I've been on the Airspace Committee for 24 years, and it all started on a Sunday morning. I was out towing banners with my little Citabria, and I was still on active duty, USCROTC duty, and they talked about DC-9 down on the 91 freeway. And I dropped the last banner and shot over there to look at this DC-9 on the 91 freeway. And it was a DC-9 in somebody's swimming pool. And it was a serious accident. It was a bad day. And about 2 months later, October, my friend Bob Trimborn, who's now at Santa Monica, but he was at Hawthorne at the time, said they're forming a little study group to work on the airspace because they'd closed the corridor, they'd raised the top of the TCA at the time, and everybody's in a panic. And he said, do you want to volunteer to be on that committee? You'd think after 20 years in the Army, you'd know not to volunteer. But I did. I remember the very first meeting, there was a gentleman who came from the FAA administrator, T. Allen McCarter, and he said that if we, the pilots on one side, Barry Schiff, myself, Raul Morrow, a couple other guys, and the controllers on the other side, if we don't start working on the airspace and designing the airspace properly, some congressman or senator that doesn't know the pointy end from the hot end of an airplane or a helicopter would be telling us how to fly in our airspace. And honest to God, I never thought in 1986 that I'd ever be able to stand up here and tell you that the Congress has designed some airspace that's in our area, and they put it on a law. And so we have the Disneyland temporary flight restriction that's not temporary. And when I give this talk about airspace, and I start, how many airplane pilots and helicopter pilots, dual rated guys, that are flying both now? Okay, so this will make sense to almost everybody. When I give this talk, airspace comes in two types. They are regulatory and non-regulatory. And back in the day, regulatory meant it was regulated by the FAA, and non-regulatory meant it was regulated by the military. And there weren't many other people involved in regulating the airspace. Today, we have the TSA, the State Department, the Secret Service, the Forest Service, Parks and Recs, probably, well, and we got the Congress. And they all have the ability to start up a TFR or try to put in some kind of restriction over the Grand Canyon or put in airspace over the San Gabriel Mountains that will be horrible if they do it. So the FAA, fortunately, God bless them, has started regaining control of the airspace a little bit. And our AOPA has worked very diligently on getting rid of the Disneyland TFRs just in the last few months. And they've met with our group, and we've given them a lot of fuel to work with. And they think maybe this guy, Congressman Graham from Illinois, Southern Illinois, he is going to fight the battle to get it removed. Be pretty interesting if he pulls it off. There's an infamous Disneyland TFR. If I get in somebody's way, let me know. If you don't have that plotted on your chart, you probably should plot it. How many people do you think have been violated for flying through the Disneyland TFR? We haven't been able to find out who's officially been violated. Know that if you get a TFR violation at Disneyland, you're in federal court, you're not in FAA court. It's a federal violation. It's a federal law. Now, how many have seen the Congress? Damn noisy airplanes. How many have seen the congressional enforcement capabilities of the Congress to enforce this? We've seen their helicopters or their airplanes flying around checking you to see if you fly through it. That's not the case. And I asked some of the CHP guys that come into Millionaire at Hawthorne, I said, do you guys ever think about having to track somebody down that flew through the Disneyland TFR? And they looked at me and said, are you nuts, Pat? And I said, no, I'm just checking. And I asked a couple of Sheriff's Department guys and a couple of the LAPD guys. That's the furthest thing from any law enforcement agency's interest in tracking you down. Now you can go down and talk to SoCal. Do you turn anybody in for flying through that? Well, if they're flying through it and we're talking to them, we don't turn them in because they're talking to us. And they're not talking to us, we'd have to stop what we're doing and find out if they're talking to LaSalle, Long Beach, Fullerton, or John Wayne. So anybody that's going to catch you going, I'm not advertising that you should go try and fly through the Disneyland TFR. I just know that it's there so the banner tours don't go through there. I also know that you should try and avoid it. But if you do get caught, I'd like to know about it because we'd like to follow you through the process and see if they really get your license taken away or not.